So, hello everyone. Today is welcome to Thursday Live, and today we have really very special guest, Samantha Bahr, and she is creator and CEO of Calorie and Confidence, which is a nutrition company that educates people on nutrition and weight loss and equips them with long-term success. And Samantha has been already changing people's lives since 2016. And because of her experience, her expertise, I'm really so thrilled to invite her for today live call because she prepared this great workshop, healthy snacks and meals list building workshop. So Samantha, hello.
Hi, hi.
And I can't wait to hear all this magic behind building the list of healthy
Yes,
stuff.
yes. Well, thank you so much for having me. I'm super excited to be here as well. When we got connected, the things that you do and you teach just align very much with the things that I've been teaching for a long time. And so I knew that this would be a good fit. So I'm excited to be here. I'm excited to pass on some knowledge to the community, in your group. And yeah, like Reka said, I am the creator of the Calories and Confidence weight loss coaching program. I started this back in 2016. And the way that this program got started was because of a very painful life event that happened for me. I used to work in a nutrition club, and I worked my way up to being the owner in this club very quickly. And what I did, my job was to get people on the shakes and the products, and people would come into the club and build a relationship with me, and I would have them meet up with me one-on-one to learn more about the products. And then the idea was to send them home with it. And that's how I made money. And one day I literally made a sale that changed my life forever, because in this sale, what happened was this lady, she had been coming into the club, getting to know me. She, built trust. She agreed to meet up with me. And she said to me when we met up that she had just gotten paid that day and that she had just enough money to buy the shakes, and she needed to do it because she really needed to lose the weight. So she put her cold hard cash down on the counter, took the products, left, and I just looked down at her money and instantly started bawling my eyes out, because it was in that moment that I realized I was not really a nutrition coach. I was just a salesperson, and I was not okay with that. I was very deeply convicted because I knew that I had the knowledge and the education to be able to teach her and to empower her to take control of her weight so that she can live a higher quality of life. And so that was the last sale I ever made. I instantly got out of being part owner of the club. And the way that I redeemed myself and restored my heart was to build a weight loss coaching program that did it the right way, that focused on education and relationship building. And that's honestly a big part of why I felt like I connected with you, Radka, so much, is because you have that same belief and understanding. And I just so strongly believe in that, especially when it comes to changing anything with our weight. A weight loss goal is just one type of change, but there are many other changes that we may want to experience with our health. So whatever it is, when it comes to changing your health, however that looks for you on a personal level, I honestly believe that those things, the education and the relationship, are a crucial part of anyone's successful journey to move away from where they are, what they're experiencing now, to where they want to be in that healthier place, whether it's weight loss or fill in the blank. So I'm very excited to be here. This workshop that I'm going to walk you guys through today is it's an exercise that I created in the very first year of me doing Calories and Confidence. So this goes way back, and it's still one of my favorites today. So this is called the Macro Friendly Snacks and Meals List Building Workshop, or Healthy Snacks and Meals List Building Workshop. You can kind of play it however you want. And this workshop is going to do two things. So number one, it's going to educate you on your macronutrients. What are your macronutrients? Your proteins, your carbohydrates, and your fats. Now, there's a lot of things that you can learn about each one of those, but for today, we're going to keep it simple. And we're going to focus this really towards weight loss. And the other thing is that at the end of this training, you're going to have a brand new list of personalized snacks and meals that work for you for weight loss, or even not for weight loss, because also the foundation of what you're going to learn in this relates to pretty much any health goal that you want to achieve. So even if you don't specifically have a weight loss goal, I can pretty much guarantee that you're going to benefit from implementing what you take away in this workshop. So here's how this works. I'm going to say a couple of different words, and then you are simply going to think about the first foods that come to your mind when you hear this word. And if you were watching live or on the replay, I encourage you to actually write these down because this will help even more. So I'm going to say some words. You're going to think and write down the first foods that come to your mind, and then I'm going to talk about them. So that's how this works. Here's the bigger purpose behind this, okay? If you specifically have a weight loss goal and you are understanding more about your macronutrients, which play a big role in weight loss, okay? This is going to help you to know how to target just your protein with little expense to your fats or your carbs, or just your carbs with little expense to your fats or protein. And even if you don't have a weight loss goal, but you know that you really should be monitoring your carbs, well, this is also going to help you because now you're going to have some more direction with carbohydrates specifically. That's then going to allow you to know how to focus around them. So this workshop really covers a lot of areas with health, and you're going to have some takeaways from it. So first, I want to talk about the definition of macro friendly, okay? Because I like to call this the macro friendly. So friendly means like nice, right? Like nice or not harmful to any specific thing. However, most often macro friendly specifically refers to a high protein, low carb, low fat items, because honestly, it's just really easy to find items that are the opposite of that these days. However, I am a huge believer in personalization. So I'm personally redefining macro friendly as foods that provide a specific amount of macros that are helpful to you hitting your specific targets if you're going to be focusing on macros specifically, okay? So to know which foods are actually proteins and actually carbs and actually fats, we're going to do this little exercise. I'm going to say a word, you're going to think of it, you're going to write it down, and then we're going to talk about it, all right? So the first word, are you ready for it? The first word is protein. So right now, I just want you to think, what are the first foods that come to your mind when you think of the word protein? And if you have a pen and paper, I want you to be writing them down, okay? And this is really quick. So this is our current perception. We're not going to spend too much time on this. So you have like 3 seconds, 2 seconds, 1, and done. So stop writing, okay, if you're following along. That's it. So you just revealed what your current perception of protein is, whether you just thought about those foods or you wrote them down. But now let's reveal the reality of where protein comes from. And I'm going to put a little twist on it specifically towards weight loss. Okay. So when we think proteins, we want to think lean meats first. This is specifically for weight loss. Lean meats first, specifically for weight loss, because lean means it's the less fat, the less, not as fatty version of a meat. So the leaner it is, the more protein it has and the less fat it has. If you have a non-lean meat, you might have an equal fat to protein ratio. And specifically for weight loss, this is really helpful because your calories matter. And if you are sacrificing your calories at the end of the day, your weight's not going to go down. So the more that you're able to focus on lean meats first, the better off you are for hitting just your protein and not getting extra calories in from the fat sources that come with it. Okay. So continuing on the topic of weight loss with lean meats first, because there's more to this, what we would do is go through your list and we would circle anything that would fall into that category. So this could be chicken. It could be lean turkey. It could be egg whites. If you wrote down an egg, I would underline that because the yolk is actually a full fat. Great source of fat, but it's a fat. So technically an egg isn't necessarily a lean protein, okay? Things like white fishes, shrimp, scallops. You can kind of keep thinking through different types of fleshy items or meat options and then the leanest versions of them, okay? So we think lean meats first for weight loss specifically. Now, there's protein that comes in from non-meat sources too. And if you are a person who is like a vegetarian and you know that you need to focus on protein, that's okay. You can get protein through non-meat sources. I'm going to talk about that in a bit. So kind of hitting the different categories here, all right? Any foods that you may have wrote down that were not lean meats, there could have been something like dairy products. Maybe it was a cheese or like cottage cheese, a string cheese, or just regular cheese, okay? So yes, there's going to be protein in this, but chances are you're probably going to get a decent amount of fats with it. And that's okay. You just have to be mindful of that and you have to understand that. And when you're specifically working off of calories and macros because you have a weight loss goal, you just want to monitor that and make sure that you are hitting, your targets that are specific to you. And then outside of that, if there's anything else that you wrote down on your list that doesn't fall under, those items, we just bring them to the surface and we talk about them. So oftentimes, some of the options that come up are beans. That's a really common one. So yes, beans do have protein in them, but they are a carbohydrate first. And they're actually a very high carbohydrate first. So there's nothing wrong with this. And if beans work for you, that's okay. We just have to have the understanding and the mindfulness that if we're choosing beans because we're trying to increase our protein, we're actually increasing our carbohydrates first before that protein. So it's just understanding and having that awareness. Another one is that tends to come up is milk. Now there's a lot of varieties of milk out there, but let's just talk your classic traditional cow's milk, okay? Milk is actually most a carbohydrate first. If you go and look, if you have a classic milk, okay, and you look at the label, you'll see that the carbs are actually the highest before the protein. Yes, there's protein in there. There's probably going to be some fats in there too, but you see that the carbs are the highest because it's the sugars inside of the cow's milk that produce that. So again, nothing wrong with milk that works for you in your plan. Again, it's just having the awareness and the mindfulness that if you're choosing milk because you're trying to increase your protein, well, you're also going to be increasing your carbs first. So it's just this simple awareness of understanding those things. So weight loss specifically, when you think protein, we want to think lean meats first. Focusing on those things first and then go to the other category, the things that might be underlined that have some protein in it but come with other things. And then the other options, they're just kind of like the oddballs. So
I have a question. What do you think if people think salmon?
Yeah, good question. So salmon is definitely a protein source, but of all of the fish sources, it's actually one of the highest fat sources, but a really good source of fat. So again, when it comes to weight loss, we have to be mindful of the calories. So if you're choosing salmon to get your protein, great, you are doing that. And it is going to be the highest. But then we just also have to have the mindfulness that you're also getting fats, which add the calories. And these are going to be good fats. So yes, that actually is another, that one does come up every so often. So thanks for bringing that up.
Good.
I like it.
I like the lean meat first. I like that, really. It's so important because, again, if you don't want to lose weight and get healthier, you can enjoy the salmon, the nuts, and all but the milk, the dairy product. But if you really want to lose weight, you have to be mindful and not consume too much fat because then the weight will stagnate.
Yeah.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And it's easy to get, into the mindset of like, oh, just meats, protein things, think meats. Well, meats could be like sausages or salamis and different things like that, which actually can have more fats than protein and can have more of the fats that you don't really want to be focusing on, the lesser of the healthy fats. So meats, but lean meats. And if you think just as simple as lean meats, you're going to be doing your very best to focus on good protein and that has the least, fats of the fats that you don't want to putting in as well. Make sense?
I think so.
Awesome. Okay, so let's move on to the next one, okay? Because we've got more to cover here. So the second word is carbs or carbohydrates. What are the first foods that come to mind when you think of the word carbs or carbohydrates? And if you've got a notepad and you're writing them down, you should definitely do that. And this is just our current perception of what we think these are. So we're not going to spend too much time on it. So 3, 2, 1, done. Okay. So what you just did was you revealed your current perception of carbs, the first things that come to your mind, and you wrote them down. Now we reveal the reality of where they come from and then talk about them. Okay. So specifically for weight loss, we're going to start at that category first. Specifically for weight loss, we want to think fruits, veggies, and whole grains first. Not necessarily in that order, okay? But just those three. So fruits, veggies, and whole grains first. Just like we did lean meats first, fruits, veggies, and whole grains first, because there are other things, okay? But we're thinking, we want to think about how to set us up best for success in a very simple way, okay? So on your list, maybe you had strawberries or potatoes or corn, okay? So those would be different examples that would fall under what you would circle for fruits, veggies, or whole grains, okay? Some common items that can come up for some things you'd want to underline could be pastas, crackers, cereals, breads, okay? So I'm going to break this down for you. And the reason that I underline those instead of circling them as a whole grain, because oftentimes we think of whole grains, we're like, oh, crackers, cereals, breads. Okay. So I want you to think about this for a moment, why we're underlining them and not circling them. So this means that they're a second thing to consider before the first category of fruits, veggies, and whole grains. What is the ingredient for strawberry? Radka, don't answer. Okay. I want people to just think about this for a second. So what comes to your mind? What is the ingredient for strawberry? Now, the ingredient for strawberry is strawberry. What's the ingredient for chicken? It's chicken. Now, okay, now let's bring this back to the carbs and the cereals and the breads. What's the ingredient for bread? You might have some wheat, sugar, oils, nuts, seeds, flour, maybe a list of things that you can't even pronounce. Maybe not, because maybe you're more mindful of your breads, okay? But there tends to be an ingredients list, okay? The more that you steer towards your single ingredient items, the better off you're going to be for weight loss specifically. There's a lot of reasons on this, but in this workshop, we're going to keep it simple, okay? When it comes to things like breads and cereals and crackers, again, there's nothing wrong with them. You can have them in a good, balanced, diet in your plan and accomplish weight loss. You can. You absolutely can. Again, this just comes back to the awareness and the understanding of what it is that we're putting in our body and how it's specifically aiding us in weight loss. Now, what I'm talking about goes beyond weight loss. I would also recommend this for just general health goals. The more that you steer towards your single ingredient foods, most often you are going to be putting yourself in the best position to accomplish whatever that health goal is. Okay. So you can keep filling in the blank, crackers, cereals, other part of whole grains. Okay. The opposite side of that, we've got things like rices or quinoa. Oats, that's one of my favorites, okay? So fruits, veggies, and whole grains. And a simple way to think about this is, are they one ingredient? And if they're one ingredient, that's going to be where you want to go first. These items, okay, let's compare the breads to, any of those other ones, all right? There's probably some type of processing that removes some type of either micronutrients, vitamins, minerals, antioxidants. It all depends because it's completely personal. But when you steer towards the single ingredient, unprocessed, you're going to get all of those things, and all of those, the micronutrients, the vitamins, the minerals, the antioxidants, the phytochemicals, those go in your body, and your body gets to absorb them and fully use them. And your body soaks them up, and then you have more energy. You see improvements in things like your skin, and your hair shines better, your nails, like different things like that. And you start to see improvements in things like your weight and your health, because you're giving your body the full dose of the nutrients that it really wants, where cereals and crackers and things like that tend to take some of those things out. And I'm not saying all of them, because we all know that there's some breads that are just better than others, or crackers, right? Okay. But when we steer towards those single ingredient items, we can have pretty much complete confidence that we're always going to get those things that we really want, versus breads and cereals. Sometimes we might be missing out on those. Make sense?
Yeah, I'm happy you're talking about it, because it's so hard to shift. But when people shift, magic will start happen, because it's just we're not built to eat this processed food. Period. The human body is not made. Our body was created to eat everything that grows in the ground, or humanly raised meat and things like that, and not something that was created in a factory. And so thank you for reminding this single ingredients. I love that.
Absolutely.
It's simple,
Here's
powerful.
Here's one question that I throw at my clients to help just drive in the importance of this and get them to put this into perspective for themselves. I'll give you the question for free, okay? If you go back to the very first day of human existence, no matter what you believe about how humans arrived on Earth, you in some way believe that humans there was some day, first day, because we're here, right? So however you believe about that, what foods do you believe were available on day one of human existence that have allowed the human race to survive all the way up to 2022? If you go all the way back to day one, what foods do you think were available? Was there ice cream? Was there shelves with breads on it? Was there protein bars or protein powders? My best guess is that they were sources from plants or animals. So things that were in their most raw, pure, single ingredient form. I believe that shelves were probably an apple tree that we reached up to and grabbed. Okay. So there might have been fish. There might have been chickens. I don't really know what animals exactly, but I imagine that they were in their most raw, purest form. Okay. And so and back then we didn't have weight problems.
No.
We didn't have weight problems, right? So if we can just go back to that and just even start making slight changes every day, small changes, not dramatic changes, but small changes with that mindset, and you'd repeat that every day, do you think you'd start to see some changes physically? Absolutely, right? So there's my question that I kind of spit at people. So that was carbohydrates, okay? Now let me go into the last word, which is fats. So what are the first foods that come to your mind when you think of the word fats? There's a lot of things. There's a lot of food items that come to my mind when I think of the word fats. But we're going to reveal what your current perception is. So 3, 2, 1, done. All right.
I like that.
3, 2, 1, done. You think too much about it, you're going to come up with all these lists, but that's not the point. The point is what is currently present in your mind that you typically think of, because those are the ones that are most important to reveal. Is this really what I should be focusing on, or do I need to take a different route? So here's the thing about fats. Honestly, I think Radka could do a much better job talking about fats than I could, because fats are a little bit trickier. There are subcategories of fats. You've got your polyunsaturated fats, your monounsaturated fats, saturated fats, trans fats, okay? And so fats can get a little tricky and they can kind of get a little overwhelming. And I'm all about keeping things simple. So to keep things simple, here's how I'm going to steer you towards the best and the healthiest sources of fats that literature for over 100 years has proven to us are the best. Fall back on the single ingredient rule. And most often, most of the time, you're going to fall right in line with the fats that you really want to be focusing on. And I say most often, most of the time, because there actually are some single ingredient options that don't actually fall into that. But most often, most of the time, if you fall back on the single ingredient rule, you are going to fall right in line. So I'm just going to throw some things at you, okay? Nuts, seeds, coconut, avocado. You could do nut butters. Be careful about what kind of nut butters you're choosing. There's oils. There's lots of different types of oils. So again, that's where we need to be careful, okay? But to keep it simple, because fats can feel a little overwhelming sometimes, and I get it because there are different categories of them. So to keep it simple, fall back on your single ingredient rule, and most often, most of the time, you're going to fall right in line. Keep it simple. Make sense? What do you think, Dr. Radka? Because honestly, I think you probably got a lot more things on fats than I do. What do you think about that?
No, I think it's very powerful, because it's always it's very, very important to keep it simple, because if it's overwhelming, if it's too much information, or it's too bigger goal, we will not be able to do it and to have the weight loss. So it's what we're talking about is today, right? Because that's what the workshop title is. And I think it's really good to tell people that with the age, we really need to have protein, because the sarcopenia, that when we lose the muscles, is really problematic. So we see all these older people, and they are unable to lift their body from the chair, and it's because the nutrition is poor, obviously the movement as well, which we don't talk about this today. But I think it's like a triangle: the protein, the carbs, the fat. I think if people imagine that, and then if you can just quickly there's 3 types of micronutrients. So the protein, what would be like 5 examples? What would be the lean? You said lean meat first. So the chicken, the turkey, the shellfish. Salmon is not too much because it's fatty. Even the fat is really nutritious, but it's not. If you want to lose weight, you have to be careful. What would be from what is your go-to list? Like 5 of each. If you can share with us, it would be great.
So here's where I'm going to take a little spin on this, because I do things a little bit different. I actually don't give out meal plans. I don't give out lists, but here's why. And I think hopefully you'll like this, okay? I very much am a strong believer in personalization for weight loss or any goal, health goal that you need to achieve or want to achieve, okay? Because sometimes what is a good item for me might not be a good item for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It could be an allergy. So peanuts, I could eat them all day. You eat one peanut and you could die. So it doesn't make sense for me to recommend that you eat peanuts as your fat source when I just basically give you a death sentence, right? So here's what I like to do instead. You understand the education about the proteins, the carbs, and the fats, and then you create your personal list that fits under those. So we could do this right now. And actually, this is the last part of it. So let's just think through this, okay? Lean proteins. When we talked about lean proteins, what are the top 5, your favorite, the ones that you like, that you know that you'll eat, that you're going to buy and actually eat and not go to waste? What are your top 5 that fit into the lean protein? And you're going to create your own list right now. So I'll throw out a bunch of examples. You can write them all down, and then you go and reorder them into your top 5 that are going to be completely personalized to you. So White fishes, scallops, shrimp, chicken, egg whites. You can buy pure 100% egg whites in cartons, and they're cheap and they're fantastic. Lean turkeys, a turkey breast. You could go lean. You could go extra lean beefs. You just keep thinking through those flesh ends, right? So I don't remember. I lost count of how many.
Maybe
you
pork
but,
is lean. Lean, yeah, it can be anything lean basically from these. But chicken breast definitely is I think very accessible, and turkey breast as well. That's great. And what about carbs? So
yes, so we do the same thing.
Yeah.
And I would do the same thing for each of those. So what are your top 5 favorite fruits? Strawberries. And so, okay, in each of these, there are a difference. But here's the other part. If you are struggling between choosing a fruit versus a bar, okay, which one is the closer to the single ingredient, the fruit, okay? So even if it's the difference of a banana versus a berry, yes, there are differences. But if the only other option is this, don't get so concerned and caught up in, oh, bananas have more sugars. But what is your other option? So if we're even just moving towards the category first without concern about those other things, and once we get really good at that, then take that a level deeper and understand, okay, the difference between a strawberry and a banana and a watermelon, you're going to move in the right direction. So my encouragement to you is to just start with the category. So what are your top 5 favorite fruits? Strawberries, bananas, blackberries, raspberries, kiwi, watermelon, cantaloupe, muskmelon, pineapple, grapes, cherries, apricots. Keep thinking through, and then you create your top 5. Are you going to eat them? Is that going to be one step better than the other choices you have? Right? Simple, one step better. Same thing with your veggies. Same thing with your whole grains. Broccoli, cauliflower, spinach, lettuce, sprouts, asparagus, Brussels, right? Same thing.
It's very important to mention this because people, when they think carbs, they only thinking bread, potato, and pasta. But carbs is actually everything else as well, that is fruits and vegetables. So it's good to recognize this. Good. Yeah. Single ingredients.
So
and fat.
Yeah. So in your fats, follow on that single ingredient rule. And just and we just stay there, because fats, they get trickier, right? One of my personal favorites is avocado. That's a personal one for me. Okay. Avocado also has carbs and protein in it. So again, it's like, wait, but I thought you said, we're just focusing on this. It's like, yes, fats are a little bit trickier. So when we follow in that single ingredient rule, nuts, okay, seeds, right? We're going to be moving in the right direction without getting so worried and caught up in all the other things that can come along with fats and that, because it is trickier, but don't worry about that. Just keep it simple.
Keep it simple.
And honestly, after working with literally hundreds of people since 2016 and analyzing the nutrition stuff, just simply focusing on the proteins and the carbs and letting the fats just fall in place can take you really, really far. Because we don't always have to get caught up in all of those things, especially if we're not used to even working with macros in the beginning. Sometimes just enhancing the protein towards the lean meats and the carbs to the fruits, veggies, and whole grains, and just letting the fats kind of fall where they fall, can be an excellent start that can move you really far.
Yeah. No, this is great. I hope it's helpful for people. I think it is. So that would be great if you're watching as a replay, you can give us your, hi Trisha, you can give us your list, what you came up with, which will always inspire other people as well. I have as well, my fat source is definitely avocado, nuts, and seeds. I love that. And as you're saying, I really use very little fat in general. Like, I don't use much of oils, just maybe on salad, some olive oil, good quality, but otherwise really It's just the protein and a lot of vegetables, because as no people in this community, I'm obsessed with really nurturing the gut microbiomes, and that's what we need, the fiber for it as well, which is in the vegetables. Okay, that was really great. I learned so much because I love sometimes to to create some simplicity, and you did great example how it can be so simple and really do and create something that is achievable and make such a transformation as your people doing. So where the people can find you, share with us.
Yeah. The best place to find me right now would be the Food, Fitness, and Confidence Facebook group. This is a free community for weight loss specifically. And inside of there, there's already a bunch of free trainings that you can start, sifting through and picking based off of the titles that are most relevant to you. So Food, Fitness, and Confidence Facebook group, you can get connected inside that community. And yeah.
Great. Maybe you can share the link below the video now and people can join it. That will be simple. Great.
Absolutely.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Samantha. It was a pleasure.
Yeah. Thank you for having me.
Everybody be active. Get some questions for Samantha because she's here in the group with us. So take advantage of it. And I want to see your list.
Yeah. Post your lists.
Yes. So take care and thank you so much. Bye-bye.
Yeah.